Welcome back, guys, to the last chapter of this AI dungeon adventure. We're finally here. The final chapter. I can't believe it. This chapter is only pre-written. I wrote like almost 17 pages of script for this video, and I'm really tired, as you probably can tell. I still hope that you enjoy this final chapter, and I'm so grateful for all the kind of support I've gotten through this series. And this is not the end of an AI dungeon adventure in Gulder's story. Not at all. Just the end of a part of his story. But yeah, thank you. And if you notice that some of my writing is better on some places than others, it's because it's a really long script, so yeah, it's a lot to write on. But I still hope that you enjoy all of it. And as always, the art that you see on your screen right now is my brother's artwork of Gulder, the main character of the story, and you can find this free-to-read comic at patreon.com/spiham or his other artworks at instagram.com/spiham. It would mean a lot to both me and my brother if you checked it out, so yeah, please consider it. And without any further ado, let's go. You and Malak ride through the desert on your horses. The temperature is mild, not too hot, and the wind blowing in your hair is cooling down the usual burning heat. You look at how much Malak has grown over this journey. She's currently wearing her usual leather armor, and her red hair has grown longer, now reaching the end of her ears. You yourself have changed greatly too. You didn't know that this was what you signed up for when you found Garrett's wanted poster in the main square of Caldian. Your hair has gotten longer, and you now have a full beard too. You have gotten yourself some new scars too, and knowledge about the world you never imagined existed. You look at the horizon in front of you and continue to ride through the desert for the next couple hours. Eventually, you reach the top of a large sand dune, and in front of you is a large city, made out of sandstone with blue banners depicting a sun cut in two. It's the capital of Talimar, Al-Shamir. It's ruled by the Sultan named Falahad ibn Almer, a strict but fair ruler. You look at its huge walls and patrolled watchtowers as you ride closer to the main gate. A guard approaches you and asks, "Who are you, and what business do you have in the great Sultanate of Talimar?" "We are currently on our journey across the border of Agadori, but we are looking for our friends and thought they could be here. I'm Gulder from Boltingbrook, ex-soldier. This is Malak from Gahar." "I will consult with the captain of the guards. Wait here." We wait for what seems like an eternity. At least 2 or 3 hours outside the large gate until the guard eventually returns. "We are currently taking in refugees from the plague cursing our lands, so we don't have much space, but if you seek to only stay here overnight, we can let you in. But you have to leave by sunrise tomorrow." "Thank you. That's great help," you say, as you look over to Malak with an ironic expression, tired of waiting for so long. The gates are at last opening for the two of you, and you enter a large town square with square-shaped houses built close to each other and on top of each other. It's crowded, and the market is full of customers and craftsmen, selling all kinds of rare spices and products. You and Malak wander down the street and see the hectic market attract hundreds and hundreds of customers. "No wonder the plague spread so easily," you tell Malak, who begins to smirk. As you progress down the street, you eventually see a large stone building with round spherical rooftops. The Sultan's palace. "You think we can arrange a meeting with the Sultan?" you ask Malak. "I have no idea. We could try," she responds, and you approach the gate. After waiting for hours again and many different conversations with all kind of guards, you are finally granted access for a 2-minute-long meeting with the Sultan. You enter the great hall of the palace. Carpets are hanging from the roof, handcrafted and beautiful. Baskets containing all kinds of fruits is placed on every table, and the smell of southern perfume engulfs the atmosphere. You walk up the stairs and see the Sultan sitting intimidating on his throne. "So you are outlanders, no?" he says, not making eye contact. "Yes, we come from Chaldean on a quest, and we have information that could secure your whole sultanate from being destroyed," you say. "I am listening." You see, a group of ancient beasts from Morgek's time have awoken and will soon come to destroy our lands and our people with it. We need you to mobilize and get ready to defend your lands. We aim to stop them, but we haven't got much time left. Do what you can, and I'm sure your city will be spared, you elaborate. He looks at you, intimidation and fear oozing from his gaze. He opens his mouth. "Did you know that a plague currently struck my lands? A plague we need to defend ourselves from. Do you know how many resources I have used on keeping my people alive up to this point? If you have no useful information, get out of my palace. I don't have the time for fairy tales," he says with an angry tone. "This is not a joke. We are honest with you. You need to do something about this. You can't watch the world burn in front of your eyes," you respond. "Yes, and I guess you're the Emperor's long-lost son too? Don't come here with your lies to me. Get out of my palace immediately, Chaldeans," he says, and we are led out of the palace and into the streets again. "Well, so much for nothing," Malik say, while I stare into the dirty streets with an empty look. "Let's find a place to stay for the night. Talking to him is useless, and we definitely can't show him the scroll I got with me. He would confiscate it immediately." We walk down the streets yet again. After checking out all the full inns, we eventually hear a large man with a deep voice talk to some merchants about his missing companions. His voice is almost tear-filled. "Edgar?" you say, and the man turns around. "Calder, Malik, you're here," Edgar says, and gives the both of you a warm hug. "Krayler, come here, it's them," Edgar yells, and Krayler emerges from the crowd with some local food in his hands. "You guys, I knew you would turn up eventually," he say, with a big smile in his mouth currently stuffed with all kinds of exotic meat and spices. "Any word from Shinjin?" you ask. "Unfortunately, no. We haven't been able to track him down," Edgar says. The four of you find a back alley to rest in and discuss the current situation. As we talk about what to do next, we notice a weird smell coming from a nearby street. The four of you explore the alley and the smell gets closer and stronger. You finally arrive at an abandoned house and look inside. You see 6 hooded men doing some sort of ritual, and the smell of magical ingredients is getting even stronger. You grip the hilt of your sword tightly and slowly enter the house. And to your amazement, the hooded men doing the ritual appears to be wizards, wearing foreign robes. You remain unnoticed and look at the odd one of the 6 wizards. His robes are that of a nomad, looking more like an Agadorian merchant than a wizard. That's when it hits you. This has to be the nomadic merchant that opened the realms of beasts in the first place. He most likely has escaped from Agadori and is now hiding right here in Talimar. You notice that the 5 other mages sitting next to him is someone familiar to you. They are his accomplices, the ones that you met in the forest before reaching Dalt at the start of your journey. You unsheath your sword and rush into the room, stabbing one of the merchants in the abdomen. You pull it out and swing your sword at another one. Kriller hits one of them in the head and Malik fires an ice crystal at the other while Edgar slices up the last one. In a matter of seconds, your dedicated teamwork eliminated everyone except for the nomadic merchant, the cause of all this upcoming destruction. You grab him by the throat and look deep within his eyes. Do you understand what you are about to do to this world? All the innocent people, all the different lands and cultures, everything is going to be attacked soon, and you and your weak little accomplices are the only ones guilty. You are scum. Low-life scum. You will fucking suffer for this, you say to him, clenching your teeth and tightening your grip around his throat. It's the prophecy, he says, while struggling to breathe. The mighty god Morgek eliminated all the other gods. He should be the true ruler of this world. He deserves it, and we will help him to the bitter end. You knock him out with your sword hilt and carry him on your shoulder. They attract the beasts this way. That's what they were doing with all this, and that strong smell too. It looks like they were burning something to attract the beasts, something holy, Malak says, and touched the golden dust that they were using for the ritual. I think it's Ashimir, Malak says, and drops it on the ground. Well, pick it up, Malak. Keep it hidden. We need to leave at dawn, you say, and all of you run out of there and down the street with the merchant passed out on your shoulder. Suddenly, you hear swords clinging to each other from a nearby alley. You hear heavy breathing and Shinkensuan dialogue. The Oni. You all run over to the alley and take a peek of the ongoing duel in front of you. The Oni is fighting against a samurai, wearing his family's signature cape and a striped kimono. It's Shinjin, giving everything he's got against the fearsome Oni. They have probably been fighting for long. Maybe they chased each other through the desert. Either way, you all rush in to help him. Wait, you yell, and catch the Oni's attention. We know what you are after. We know you want to revenge your old master and bring back what once belonged to him. We found the guilty one. You bring forth the nomadic merchant who still has a strong Ashimir scent oozing from him. You can smell that, right? It's Ashimir. This merchant awoke the beasts and just now burned your master's scroll. It's him you should kill, not us, you say. Shinjin translates to the Oni. The Oni looks at the merchant and smells the strong scent. And, surprisingly, a tear pours down from beneath the mask of the Oni.
この匂い、それは私の主人を思い出させます。最後に、あなたの言うことが本当なら、私は彼に復讐することができます。シルバーヘアに行き、私をそのままにして、沈黙の中で悲しませてください。
The Oni says, with sorrow in his voice. He says, this smell, it reminds me of my master. Finally I can avenge him, if what you say is true. Go, silver hair, leave me be, and let me grieve in silence, Shinjin translates. The Oni walks over to the merchant and stabs him through his chest and lifts his body up with his blade, covering the moonlight with the bloody corpse of the merchant.
ありがとうございます。
The Oni says, and walks away. He makes a turn around the corner and makes his way towards Shinkensu, never to be seen again. It's good to see you, Shinjin. I'm glad we got all of that sorted out, you say, giving Shinjin a handshake. Indeed, silver-haired knight. It's a pleasure seeing all of you alive and well, he responds. Well, let's find a place to stay for the night, if there is any more room in this crowded city. The five of you walk back into the main street, reunited at last. As night falls upon you, you find a place to stay. It's an old run-down inn, but it's the only choice you have got. You sit on a carpet on the floor, looking at your sore and dirty hands. You and Malak are sharing the room together, and the journey you have been through have created a close bond to each other. She sits down next to you. It's almost over. I think we will reach Agadori tomorrow, you say, looking out at the night sky. She holds your hand and opens her mouth. I have been feeling a bit uneasy these past weeks in a weird way. I think something is going on. I think I'm... You know, she says and stares down. You know, the nights on the ship to Shinkensu and the other night after that. She looks a bit embarrassed, and you know what she's trying to say. Really? That's amazing. There is no other person I would like to enjoy the rest of my life with than you say, with a surprised but happy look on your face. Malak leans into you, exhausted, but happy. You give her a kiss and comfort her, and you embrace each other as the moon shines across the hot night sky. The next morning, you all get ready to leave for your last destination, Agadori. You all meet up outside the inn. You give Malak a warm hug, telling her that if she needs anything, all she needs to do is ask you, and that you are here for her. You all breathe out and get ready for the last march for Agadori. Relieved, but also prepared for the worst. You rent some camels and mount them as the gates to the desert is opening. You look back at the city and ride out into the desert with Agadori soon in sight. All of you arrive with your camels at an open area. You look back at the rising sun and then you all look at each other. A small unmaintained sign in front of us reads, "You are now crossing the border of Agadori." You breathe out, a sign of relief. You are finally getting close to your goal, but you tighten your grip around the camel, and now your hardest fight is yet to come. Filled with determination and courage, you all cross the borders that separates Talimar from Agadori, and the 5 of you set off to search for a place to rest. After riding our camels for some minutes, you see something unusual in the horizon. You see smoke rising up to the sky, and beneath the cloud of smoke you see a familiar sight. First, you see the big, shining eyes, then the long neck, and last, the blue, knife-sharp scales. In front of you is the Shinkensuan beast, the blue dragon from the mountains, once again coming your way, but not focused on you and your group at all. Its focus lies elsewhere. It's watching over the entire area, looking for something to destroy. It's moving quickly for the city you just came from. It's going to destroy it and burn it to ashes. But it has to go through the 5 of you first, and you all ready your weapons to face the dragon once and for all. It's 5 of us and 1 of him. We can do this, friends, you say, as you pull out your greatsword. Gelder. Look closer, Edgar says, with a terrified look on his face as he points at the ground below the dragon. You focus your eyes. You can't see anything unusual at first, but as you clench your eyelids and gaze closer at the horizon, you see that the dragon is accompanied by what looks like at least 500 other beasts, in all shapes and sizes. Some are bigger than others, some look like snake-formed humans, some are giants, others are either made of fire or ice, and some are just abnormal. You are 5 simple warriors, ready to face an army of ancient godlike beasts that just woke up from their eternal slumber. They are reinvigorated, filled with rage and hatred, and in that moment, you realize that you will soon die. Your journey was long and hard indeed, but it was meaningful to you. You found people you love, appreciate, something to fight for and protect, motivations, hope, and you have seen incredible things you never imagined you would ever know existed. You cry a happy tear and smile. Edgar, Krayler, Shinjin, you guys have been great teammates and allies. Malak, I love you, you tell your 4 companions. Malak starts sobbing uncontrollably and say, "We could turn around, it's not too late to seek help or allies." Malak, I've experienced things that I'm beyond grateful for. It's okay. Really? You can turn back if you want to, but I'm fighting this army once and for all, you answer. Fucking hell, you think we're leaving so soon? They haven't even had the chance to taste my blade yet, Edgar yells. We will of course join you in battle, my friend, especially after what we have been through together, says Kedar. Honorable silver-haired warrior, we haven't always seen eye to eye on things, but the scroll is falling today. My nation will regain its pride, and I will fight to the bitter end with the blessing of the Harukina clan, alongside my friends, Shinjin says. Thank you, friends. I mean it. Thank you, you say, staring up at the sun, just feeling the subtle warmth one last time. You turn to Malik. Of course I will die with you on this battlefield. You think I can go back to Gahar without you? She says, and I wipe her tear from her chin. Today, men, we burn like timber, scream as infants, fight like heroes. Today, we will learn to appreciate the gods and what they gave us. Into the abyss we go, and together we will laugh and dance in heaven, you yell, and your teammates yells with you. As you walk in the direction of the beasts, you start to run. The beasts are gaining speed too. You look death straight in the eyes as you prepare to dance your last dance among the swords on the battlefield. But then you hear a horn. It sings through the sand dunes and green valleys, even catching the attention of the beasts, and you watch the horizon as you hear trembling footsteps. From the horizon you see a man, blocking the sun and pulling out a golden sword made out of pure ashemir, his blonde hair blowing in the wind, and his clear green eyes gazing upon the large army. You hear the horn once again, and to his right side you see a familiar face. It's Captain Anu of the Milne battlements. To his left you see an armor-covered man with a grey balding hairline and a short stylish beard. Behind them an army appears, at least 5,000 men large. They're holding different banners. The one behind the old man is a flag that resembles the flags of the Red Valley Counts. It's Lena's father. Behind him, an armor-covered Lena appears with Hans, Garrod, and her loyal escort Sir Vincent. Lena yells, "We were a bit late. We had to take a detour through my home, but I brought a couple hundred friends with me." Behind Anu is the entire Milne army, and even more men is behind the blonde man in the middle. The blonde man opens his mouth. "You warriors have traveled far and long, high and low, through green hills and sandy dunes. But fear not, I, the Prince of Kaldian, is here to help you." It's the Prince of Kaldian. The old emperor is surely not brave enough to be here himself, but his son is here, with his army, ready to fight off the beasts with us. "If you feel so inclined, join us in the fight, but don't you dare die. I have my thanks to give you after the battle," the prince says, and he follows up with, "For Emperor and his lineage, for the good gods and the good people, for justice, the power of sunlight, and the glorious empire of Kaldian, ride with me, my men, until the sun rises once again." The entire army starts to move, and they ride down the hill at high speed. They all let out a huge battle cry, and the army rides straight towards the beasts. Lena and the others ride up to us and give us a horse each. "We have missed you," Lena says, and looks at Hans, crying out of happiness of seeing you again. You climb the horse with your teammates and say, "Well, my friends, at last we are reunited once again. You heard the punchable prince. Let's go to battle." You and your teammates ride against the battlefield to join the fight against the beasts with courage. You pull out your sword and slaughter a beast. You swing it from side to side and stab them when you get the chance. Your teammates fight alongside you in harmony. But then, you eventually see that not everything goes according to plan. Suddenly, The beasts you thought were easy prey slaughter their way through the soldiers on the ground. You see young men, squires, recruits. All these men that were the rest of the already small army of Chaldean is now being eaten, slaughtered, and brutally murdered in front of you. You're shocked. Reality is wicked. It's cruel. It's horrifying. But you're still here, in this very moment. You look to your side only to see Kraler's arm being bitten by a giant serpent-like beast. "Give me back my fucking arm," he shouts, as he swings his morning star at the beast's head. He turns around, and in the blink of a nothing, you see the serpent reach out and bite his head clean off. No, what the fuck, you shout as you slice the serpent's neck apart, screaming as the blood covers your entire body. You wipe the blood away to see Kraler's lifeless body on the ground, and behind you, you hear Garrett say, "Watch out!" as he pushes you off your horse only to be grabbed by a titan. You quickly get up and cut off the titan's right leg, but your sword won't go through as you see the titan throw Garrett back on the ground. "Garrett, are you alive?" you yell, and he seems fine, until a fire-covered beast shoots a giant fireball onto you, and Garrett pushes you away. "Just make sure that history does not repeat itself," is the last words Garrett says before the fireball hits him and sets his whole body aflame. Fuck this, you say to yourself and look behind you. It's Lena this time, on the ground, looking at a giant beast with fangs and sharp claws. "Lena!" you scream, but the beast swings its huge claws at her, only to be easily deflected by a sword wielded by none other than her personal guard Sir Vincent. "Do you honestly think, wild beast, that you can even attempt to hurt my lady or even lay your disgusting paw on her in the first place? Well, then you are wrong, my dear enemy. You shall have the honor of fighting me, and to die at my own hands before you as much as touch the royal Red Valley bloodline." Sir Vincent fights the beast, deflecting and dealing heavy blows. He lands a death blow and completely cuts the beast in two, and wipes his sword on its fur. "Now, my lady, get up, and let's end this battle once and for all." He helps her up, only to be stabbed in the back and through his abdomen, blood gushing out of his mouth. He falls to his knees. You stab the beast through the neck and make sure it's completely dead. Lena leans over Vincent and grabs his hand, and the last words uttered from Vincent's mouth is, "I hope I served you well, my lady. Please make sure that you survive this hell on earth." His gaze is lifeless, and the blood stops flowing. Sir Vincent is also dead. Lena starts to cry and loses control of herself. She picks up Vincent's sword and starts to fight every beast she sees, going rampage and killing every single beast around her while screaming her lungs out. You run towards her and help her defeat them as you hear a soldier yell, "Look, the prince is at the front lines, tearing the beasts apart." You look up to see the blue dragon fight against Shinjin, which hangs onto its head. Edgar and Hans is fighting side by side. Malik is using all her energy on spells to burn the beasts or freeze them until they are rock solid. It's hell on earth. The battle lasts for 2 more hours. Blood is running down the hills, but few beasts remain. You feel your weak body collapse on the ground as you faintly hear the soldiers celebrate the victorious outcome of the battle. You don't care who won or lost. You feel nothing else than regret, sorrow, emptiness. The battle was won that day, and is remembered as the Battle of the Rising Sun. You, however, lost. You wake up in the middle of the night at an encampment set up by the army. You feel hot and unwell. Malik is sitting next to you, holding your hand. You look at her, and then you get up and get dressed. I'm so sorry that Malak begins, but you interrupt her saying, not now. Let's mourn when the dead can rest. She nods and the both of you sit in silence. You hear footsteps getting closer to your tent and Captain Anu comes in through the entrance. Glad to see you awake, old friend. The prince wants both of you to come to his tent now. Get dressed. You and Malak looks at each other with shocked expressions, and you get dressed for the upcoming meeting. As you enter the prince's large tent, you are greeted by Hans, Edgar, Lena, Shinjin, Anu, and the prince himself, all sitting around a large round table. You and Malak take your seats, and the prince puts his hand on his table. Firstly, Lena's father, the Count of Red Valley, fell in the battle, so take this as a ceremony, for Lena is now the Countess of Red Valley. But it's too early to celebrate yet. You have my condolences. Lena is heartbroken and in shock, clearly in a horrible state. You look at her and say that you are sorry for her loss, and so does everyone else. Lena will in that case not partake in the upcoming battle as she is in no state to fight, he announces, but Lena quickly gets up and looks him dead in the eye. Of course I will fight. I will fight against the hordes of beasts that murdered my father. I will avenge him and show my army that I will lead them into battle with the same courage my father had. I don't care if you are the prince. This is my decision and mine only, she says with an angry tone. Very well, you shall do as you wish with your army. You are welcome to fight alongside us any time, Countess of Red Valley, he says, bowing his head. Thank you, my liege, she answers, a bit calmer than last time, but with tear-filled eyes. The prince looks at us with a serious and determined look as he opens his mouth. Now, we have to acknowledge that we have guests present this night. You, Galda of Boltingbrook, the silver-haired knight, you go by many names, but I hear that you're the one who have retrieved the scroll of Yoshitaro, the shogun from the ancient times. The shogun who managed to banish Morgek into the other realm, am I correct? You are correct indeed, you say, and pull up your leather satchel. You open it and present to them the old parchment, almost falling apart, which is supposed to be the ancient scroll. So this is it, I suppose, the prince says. But if you are familiar with this knowledge, I suppose you heard it from Garrett. What's his whereabouts? I saw him die in the battlefield with my own eyes, you say, and look down at the table. So I heard. I am sorry for the loss of your teammates, but I have to tell you something vital before the next fight, Galda, so pay attention to this. Having the scroll is not enough to beat Morgek. You need one last component for it to actually be possible, and that is Ashemere dust. If I am correct, Garrett the historian told you that Yoshitaro poured the dust into his eyes to be able to read the scroll, but at the expense of his eyesight. If this is the true method of reading the scroll, it has to be done again. Are you willing to take the risk and complete this heretical ritual? The prince say, respectfully. I am. I am prepared to do whatever it takes to banish Morgek and his beasts once more. And this time, hopefully for good. We found some Ashemere dust used by the same wizard who summoned Morgek in the first place. It's right here in my pocket and ready to be used whenever, you answer. Well then, you are a brave soul indeed, and your companions is nothing less. From this day on, you will be remembered as the Scroll Seekers. I will take no honor in this act, you shall be remembered as the true heroes you are, the prince say as Captain Anu nods his head. The prince pulls out his sword and places it on the table. Galder of Boltingbrook, Hans of Gaha, Malak of Gaha, Edgar the Nightmare, Lena, Countess of Red Valley, and Shinjin from the East. You all have my sword and blessing in the upcoming battle, and you will be my friends and allies, not my peasants and vassals. I will remember this deed of yours, and you will always be welcome to call for my aid. Now go to your tents, get some sleep. Tomorrow we will battle until the sun dissolves, the prince say, and we all nod and go to our tents. You lie in your tent next to Malak, who is asleep. You look up at the roof, thinking of home. This journey is sure to end soon. One more day and I can finally rest, you think to yourself as you hear the soldiers coming out of their tent, ready to march to war. You wake up Malak and meet the others outside. Today is the day. You march for a couple of hours, you feel tense and can't shake off the unsettling feeling that soon you will be meeting an ancient god of destruction. How did your life go this way? You walk next to your teammates and look at them. Thank you for this journey. I never thought I would be doing this shit, and with such great teammates too. Hans is holding tightly onto his axe. I was a good-for-nothing drunkard before I met you, Galder. Don't thank me. Thank you. I owe you everything, he says. You know I love you, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life before I met you, Galder. I was a mage who had to hide my true powers from people so the church would not expose me. But now I can live freely as myself, Malak says. I was an outlaw before I met all of you. I had no place in this world. If I could go back in time and kill myself off, I would do it. You showed me another way of life, Galder. I will owe you for as long as I live, Edgar says. Lena looks at you and opens her mouth. I was a weak heiress caught by a giant when I met you. I couldn't take care of myself or anyone else. Being with you guys have made me stronger, and now I want to live up to my title as a countess, she says, and holds Edgar's hand. You were a disgrace to my country when I first saw you, Galder. I was prepared to end you right then and there, but I was foolish. On this journey I have learned great things, but the greatest of them all is that I have learned to see the world from a larger perspective, and you have my thanks for that, Jinjin says, and claps his hand together as a grateful gesture. You feel a burst of emotional feelings hitting you hard, and you begin to cry. You guys, you mean so much. The horn of Chaldean rings throughout the hill you are currently marching on. You hear the soldiers talk to themselves. Everyone is slowly starting to panic. You try to get through the heavy crowd and get a clear view of the situation. As you move through the crowd of soldiers, you start to get a glimpse of the upcoming army in front of you. It's an army of beasts, like last time, only bigger than before. But something clearly sticks out. In the middle of the army, there is a gigantic humanoid creature covered in flames and embers. He is at least 50 meters tall, and his whole body is filled with cracks and bursting flames. It's greater than anything you have ever seen before. The prince rides over to you. That should be him, he says. Who? Mogek. You freeze. You feel his terrifying presence and his red glowing eyes. The creature you are looking at is a god, now returned to the realm of man, with the intention of destroying everything and rule the world of beasts on his throne of fire. His heavy footsteps causes small earthquakes to occur, and the heat from his burning aura is getting closer. Captain Anu rides up to meet us. By the grace of the gods, what is that? Arrows, ready, he yells. The archers ready their bows and gets in line. Fire! They fire their iron-head arrows at immense speed, some hitting the beasts, and others hitting Morgek. Unfortunately, the arrows that hits Morgek only turns to ashes before they even reach him. Infantry, line up! The infantry ready their shields and lines up at the front line. Today, we ride through the sun and we don't stop before we hit the end. To battle, Anu screams, and blows the horn of Chaldean as they ride into battle. Scroll Seekers, it's been a hell of an adventure. Let's end this today, you say, as you follow the army, letting out your worst war cry. The entire army is riding into battle. You pull out the scroll, ready to use at any moment. Morgek lifts his burning morning star, and slams it into the ground, creating a hot, steamy earthquake. Some men fall off their horse, others keep on riding. The front line is met with an army of beasts, but the battle has only just begun. Morgek uses his other hand to create a beam of fire, burning the front line severely. Your horse reacts to the fire and throws you off, slamming into the ground. You feel dizzy and slowly get up as you watch the entire army either get slaughtered by beasts or burned alive by Morgek's flame. Death surrounds you, and you feel like it's the right time and place to finally use the scroll. You are within his range. This has to be it. This has to be the moment. You open the satchel of Ashemir dust and pull out the scroll. This is it, you say, and grab a handful of Ashemir dust. However, as you're about to pour the Ashemir dust into your eyes, Shinjin grabs your hand. I want this scroll destroyed after the battle, and as a Shinkensuin, I too shall complete the ritual and follow in Yoshitaro's footsteps. I won't let you lose your eyesight on both of your eyes, he says. But the tale said you need to sacrifice both of your eyes, you respond, but he interrupts you. So you shall be blind on one, and I will do the same. That way, we can read the scroll together. We share this sacrifice together, he says, and grabs a handful of dust from your satchel. You nod and say, You really are an admirable man, Shinjin. And with that, you pour the Ashemir dust into your left eye, as Shinjin pours it into his right eye. The pain is insufferable. You feel like your eyeball is going to burn, as well as freeze up. You start to breathe heavily and scream of pain. Shinjin falls to his knees. Now, let's read it, you say, almost unable to speak. The both of you put your head next to each other and pull up the scroll. Nagu limas ashtayagu me avaloth, you read as your iris is slowly melting away. Tsekyu batsis the Dashmir, Shinjin cries out as his iris melts away too. In that moment, everything went silent. Even Morgek. The battlefield was like a church, completely silent. Even the temperature is off. It's like time has stopped for a couple of seconds. Only you and Shinjin are able to move. Next to you appears an ancient shogun in a spiritual form. It's Yoshitaro's spirit, grabbing onto your shoulder. Next to him is a godly being, an ancient king with long hair and beard. It almost seemed like one of the gods of light, the ones that Morgek managed to destroy. The god looks at us and say,
Thank you for opening your eyes so that we could see the world from beyond.
And he rides into Morgek with his sword in hand, ready to battle him in the afterlife. And a large light appears, blinding everyone. The light disappears, and everything is back to normal. There is no beasts nor Morgek in sight. Was this it? Did he summon one of the great gods like Yoshitaro did centuries ago? Were this the secret of the scroll? Some questions remain unanswered, but you look around you and see your teammates and the rest of the army cheer. Your left eye is white, irisless, and without any use. Shinjin's right eye is the same. You don't care much about your eye, however. You are too shocked to care about anything at the moment. You and Shinjin stare at each other. I think it worked, you say. We saw the same thing, right? Indeed, our forefathers, taking Morgek with them to the realm beyond, Shinjin responds. The plan worked. You are all finally done. The prince and Anu rides up to you and your teammates. Good work, Galder and noble samurai. You have my sincere thanks, the prince say, and bow his head. In that moment, a salute is played from above the hills, and a squad of horses comes riding down in your direction. In the middle of the squad is the Emperor himself, old and fragile.
Is it over? Where is my son? There he is. I knew you would do it, I knew it. You finally destroyed that vile creature. Everyone bow to your Emperor and your Prince,
the Emperor yells as he approaches the prince. Father, the prince says, I am not the one you should embrace. This man, an ex-soldier called Galder from Boltingbrook, did it. He and this samurai used their eyes to read a scroll of Yoshitaro and managed to defeat the god of destruction, he explains to his father.
Ah, yes, Kedar. I am familiar with you. You once belonged to my barracks. I paid you, I welcomed you, and this is how you repay me? You have stolen my son's honor and momentum. You made my son look weak while you played a hero. You are a disgrace to the Empire of Chaldean,
the Emperor says in an angry tone. Father, you got it all wrong. I let him do, the prince starts to explain, but is quickly interrupted by his father.
Don't try to defend this man, my son. He stole your honor, and as such has made himself a criminal. I hereby banish you from the lands of Kedar and Chaldean. You are to never set your foot at this land again. I will send you on a ship to Theliaras tomorrow, another continent, where you can live out the rest of your life. No need to thank me for my mercy. I would normally kill you off, but I am in a good mood today,
the Emperor says. You look shocked at him, with a burning anger inside of you. Everything you did for these lands, only to get punished for it? You know you can't hurt the Emperor, so you only walk away. The prince looks at you with a sad expression. I will do anything I can do to help you get back home quick, Galder. This is just temporary. I am so deeply sorry, he says. You don't respond. You just continue walking and sit down at a nearby rock. Your teammates walk over to you and try to comfort you. You look at the sun once again and tell yourself, I will come back. I must come back. The next day, you wait for the ship to dock at the harbor at the west shore of Agadori. You are supposed to leave in a couple of minutes. Everything happened so fast. You haven't even processed all of it yet. But you know you don't have much time. You look at your heartbroken teammates. You give Hans a hug. Good luck, my friend. Tell stories about our journey to your comrades in the barracks, you say. I will, Galder, I will, Hans says and begins to cry. You give Edgar a hug. You now have the chance to start a new life, my friendly nightmare. Promise me you will marry Lena. I will, he cries out. You give Lena a hug. You heard me. Marry Edgar, and rule Red Valley like none other, my countess. I will await your return, Galder. You have no idea of how much we will miss you, she says. You give Shinjin a powerful hug. Your eye looks a bit colorless, noble samurai. Better drink some more of that tea of yours, see if it helps, you say, and for the first time Shinjin laughs out loud. I will, silver hair. I'm sorry, old habit. I will, Galder. Take care of yourself, noble warden. You walk over to Malak and embrace her. Take care of yourself and the upcoming little one. I will return before he arrives, you say, crying your eye out. I will, Galder, she say, while crying her heart out. Well then, scroll seekers, let's meet again. You wave them off and walk aboard the ship. Kapnanu is escorting you to the new continent. You will come back soon, my friend. You did a good job. I really hope so, you say, looking at the sun. Make sure that Kraler, Vincent and Garrett gets a proper burial, would you? I have a new continent to discover. And that was it. I'm so tired after recording for like an hour and all the writing I did beforehand. I'm so exhausted, guys, but sincerely, thank you so much for staying with me through this journey. And this is not the end of Galder's journey, just one part of his journey. So, I won't make any promises, but I don't think this is the end for an AI adventure. But thank you guys so much. Make sure to subscribe or like or comment and anything. Any support is really appreciated. And goodbye. I'll see you later.